Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to an all new special event here at the Sim Racing Collective, brought to you by us in collaboration with oNiD Community Racing. That's right folks, we're back and with the summer season upon us because it is the 1st of June 2026 and therefore we are now in meteorological summer. Well, we are getting ourselves set and we're warming ourselves up for an all new season of racing here at the Sim Racing Collective. Indeed, we've got new championships on the way, and after the conclusion of our recent GR86 Cup and also our Tin Top Series, well, we've got a little bit of time before we get our summer season of racing underway, and what better way to warm ourselves up in preparation for it than with a couple of one-off events. This is the first of two that we'll have over the next few weeks, and what a special event we have in store today, because it is time for us to bring in our inaugural Truckfest to Oulton Park. Indeed, our drivers are bringing the Chevrolet Silverado, the king of NASCAR truck racing in the 1990s through to the noughties. They're bringing it to the Cheshire countryside, and it is going to be the roar of V8 machinery, 625 brake horsepower at the rear wheels, and goodness me, is it going to be a score for those who are able to conquer it, because it's going to be incredibly satisfying as they roar the way around our 2.69 mile circuit. Indeed, the marrying of a machine that's got a 4-speed manual gearbox to a circuit which is highly tricky when you're out there by yourself, but going too wide for these corners in a much smaller tin top is always great fun. When it's going to be side by with our trucks, it's going to be even tighter. Space is going to be absolutely critical, and therefore plenty of fun is expected to be had, and this is going to be a pair of races today which will be absolutely on your edge of your seat action all the way from lights out to checkered flag. But alas, where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune tonight, the one place you can catch all the racing action live from Circuit Side on a weekly basis when we do run our series and throughout the entirety of the year. And as of course on YouTube, and search for none other than the Sim Racing Collective or TSRC. And why not subscribe today so we can stay up to date with all the latest racing action from our series that's always broadcasted whenever we do go racing. In the content booth you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, and I'm back once again in the content booth to bring you all your racing action as it unfolds. And in terms of our schedule for this one event today, and times in UK time, so that's British Summer Time, BST, or Universal Coordinated Time, +1, UTC +1. As we can see, in approximately 3 minutes' time, we'll be making our way into our solo qualifying session, 8 minutes in length, 3 laps for all of our drivers, after which we'll then make our way to the grid to the first of our 2 races. Race done 1 will be our sprint race, 10 laps in duration, due to get underway at approximately 8:15, after which we'll make our way into the pit lane, have a brief breather, and then all our drivers will make their way back out of the circuit for the feature race. We had an extra 6 laps onto it to make it a 16-lap shootout, and we'll see our drivers battle it out. Approximately will be 25-9 this evening. And there's no points on the line, there's no crowns to be taken, but everyone wants to be the Silverado superstar. But who exactly will be slumming it at the back of the field, and who will be leaving everybody else in their dust? Well, that's what we're here to find out. And as we make our way into this event, well, let's bring you up to speed with all the information you need to know to enjoy this event and its full, as we talk a little bit firstly about our host circuit. Because as we can see, we're racing at Oulton Park International, but we're racing the circuit without the chicanes. So therefore, we're running the full out of the circuit located near the village of Little Budworth in the Cheshire countryside, the county of England, the United Kingdom. And a huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just the brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track mats contained within it. And as we can see, this circuit was originally opened in 1953. Well, it's evolved over time, and this is the variant of its international layout that welcomes on an annual basis the likes of none other than what is the British Caterham Championship ladder and also the British GT Championship, but it welcomes our trucks today. Many of these corners, household names, although we've removed the chicanes, so you have the likes of Old Hall Corner, turn 1 to open up lap and the run down the avenue in towards Denton's, and after that's the downhill braking zone in towards Cascade. We expect plenty of drivers to understeer wide, and perhaps even some of them will go very sideways through there as they drift out to the fast left-hander, and up past Lakeside they'll go. Into Island Bend, the run through the left-hander, they'll see our drivers make their way up towards Shell Oils Corner, the furthest part of the circuit away from the start line, well they then loop back, but we've removed it of course, the Hislop chicane, as they come through turn number 6 and onwards over the hilltop, they'll come roaring down towards Knickerbrook, and they won't have to worry about the Britain chicane either. Get it absolutely right through Knickerbrook, they'll make their way uphill over Clay, and in towards Water Tower Bend, after which it'll be into the Druids Corner at turn number 10, where it's all about nailing that double out apex corner absolutely perfectly. Get it right, and they may just be able to manage the powers to go under the Warwick Bridge and in towards Lodge Bend. Have a get it wrong, we could see a few trucks into the barriers, if not go very sideways coming out of Druids Bend, and they may end up in the tree line. But get it right, go through Lodge, they'll then make the way into Deer Leap to play it up and do it all over again. And that's why it's going to be highly exciting, because of course in these trucks, And these 600 plus brake power monstrosities, it really is going to be a car, or a machine we could say, that's a bit too powerful for the circuit, and our drivers will absolutely need to tame their Silverado trucks as best as they possibly can. But of course, a little bit of a reminder of the rules there, an overview of the rules. We talked about some of them already. Drivers are required to drive the NASCAR truck Chevrolet Silverado 2008, a free piece of content available on the iRacing simulator platform, which is what we're hosting this event on, of course, and it is a fixed setup provided to our drivers, so that way everyone is running the exact same setup. The only thing they are able to change, I do believe, is their brake bias should they desire to do so. Now, we have turned car damage off for this event because we're not expecting our drivers to be absolute professionals. Indeed, we are expecting there's going to be a few bumps and scrapes, so are going to be moments of the barriers, but this is all in the nature of good fun. But as well, our drivers are required to drive respectfully. They can't exactly be barging each other off the road. This is not Demolition Derby. Now, we do go to qualifying, which is just about to get underway. It's a solo qualifying format, which means all drivers take to an isolated instance of the circuit, and they have 3 flying laps plus an out lap to try and set their best possible time within 8 minutes. When the clock goes to 0, we do take their best lap up to that point. They will not have overtime available to them. Now, as for our races, they shall get underway via rolling start. Is the tradition of truck racing, and in the United Kingdom, indeed, we have plenty of truck racing. We do have the British Truck Racing Championship and also the Pickup Truck Racing Championship, and I'll tell you a little bit about why that is very relevant very shortly, as I was catching up with the organiser for this series only moments ago, Kieran Sharp, and well, he may have learned a few things from me earlier today. Now, as for our races, the races shall get underway via that rolling start, and well, the grid for the feature race shall be set as a full reverse grid from the results of the sprint race. So the sprint, we go to the grid based on qualifying, and when we finish the sprint race, we completely invert the grid, and that's how they all line up for the feature. But that's all you need to know rules-wise, and let's get back to the fun, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the English Sun and see who's exactly making the way out there right now, and who is going to be taking that pole position as qualifying definitely gets underway, and all the drivers making their way around for the first time in anger today. And we've got plenty of regular faces here. We've also got a few new faces. And it's good to see so many different individuals making their way onto the racing grid. All about having the fun. This is a completely free-to-enter event. And we love hosting these events. They always bring some fresh blood into the grid. And well, sometimes it stays for championships, of course. But we do see Thomas Lowe, while the regulars taking a way too much curve there through Knickerbrook corner. And goes around. And finding very quickly the rear of the truck will lift up very well over those curves. As I say, all the weight gets shifted towards the front. So you need to avoid those curves wherever possible. But meanwhile, Zach Sweeney, many of you will know Zach, of course, a very talented commentator, has worked on an international stage. And I do believe did cover, of course, the Rennsport ESL Round 1, or R1. I do believe he covered quite a bit of the Rennsport series, and he has covered plenty of series on iRacing, including several of our own Sim Racing Collective series in the past. It's good to see Zach out of the commentary booth and onto the track, and we wish him all the best of luck today as he makes his way around onto his first flying lap. And we also do have Valentin Veren for the Dutchman, all very sideways there for Deer Leap. Well, definitely taking a bit of a leap to the unknown, and just about keeping it together as he makes his way in towards turn number 1, and will try and tame this truck, no doubt about it. But we also do have Jay Walsh out there. And I can promise you he has no relation to me, the Dale Earnhardt Jr. livery machine driver, but he is sharing the same surname as me. And as he makes his way around, coming through Shellwell's Bend, right now keeping it very tight. They're very smooth driving from him, and I think trying to get used to exactly just how to point the truck in the right direction. Now remember, it is a 4-speed gearbox, so these machines have a huge amount of power going through those rear wheels, and the idea is you need to pick the right gear at the time in order to be able to get the power down. And normally holding a higher gear will give you greater stability. What it also does, it completely neuters all your power, so therefore it's a bit of a gambit. The lower the gear you go to, the greater the power you're going to get. Remember, these machines, their top speed on an oval is 190 miles an hour, and we have not turned the engines down for today. They are running the normal power output they would when they go oval racing, and indeed they have done some road racing in the past, these machines. They didn't just race on ovals as part of the NASCAR series, but we are running the unfiltered 190 mile an hour top speed machines. Jay Walsh comes towards the end of his first flying lap. And if you are on the YouTube chat, feel free to say hi. Don't be shy, as we do say hello to Mogzilla86, who says this should be funny. And indeed, this is going to be quite hilarious, we reckon here. And we're going to call it as seriously as we can here at the commentary booth, because that always adds to a bit of the comedy. We try to keep an absolutely serious face, as we do see the Hedgehog machine, James Stone Bradford, going very sideways through there. And well, definitely right now, he'll be hoping he wins today, so he can use Sonic's infamous catchphrase of "you're too slow" in order to be able to mock his rivals a little bit. But right now, he's not the fastest out there. That would be Zach Sweeney, and he'll be saying that right now everyone else is a bit too slow, and Jay Walsh not too far behind. As we do look to Christian Muller, as he comes down to the braking zone there, drifted his way in towards Lodge Bend. Does he keep on the road? Well, he keeps on the road, but he goes around. And, well, I think Christian Muller there coming down the gearbox a bit too soon, plus also just overturning the rear of the car as he now gets it returned, or the rear of the truck, we should say. And, well, if anybody does remember, of course, the fact that I have had the pleasure of covering a round or two of the British Truck Racing Championship, well, I was schooled live on air at the time, and we made quite a gag out of it, the fact I kept referring to trucks as cars, and when in the end, Pointy the Plumber, the official voice for the British Truck Racing Championship, live on air, had to completely scribble over my notepad and essentially teach me what a truck is versus the car. And, well, that definitely was a funny moment all the way back in 2024 at Oulton Park. But the reason why the Pickup Racing Championship is so synonymous with this is the fact that you can imagine pickup racing in the United Kingdom, and it is run with machines with half the power of what you're seeing here today, the best part of about 300 to 350 brake horsepower. But indeed, it is a growing support format, or it has been a staple support format for the British Truck Racing Championship since the noughties, but it's continued to grow. And indeed, if you've never tuned in to the British Truck Racing Championship nor its support series or the Pickup Truck Racing Championship, I strongly recommend it, ladies and gentlemen, because if you've never seen truck racing in the United Kingdom, let alone internationally, you will want to see both of them. Indeed, once you've watched the ones, you'll be glued to it. It is a very different discipline to car racing, but very excited about that as Finley Secker goes round, and as he does so, well, he manages to get back put in the right direction, but he's not got long left in this qualified session. But Speed and Drive's not got long left. Kieran Sharp's not got too long left in this one, so we jump aboard with him for a flying lap of the circuit as he goes on to his final qualifying lap. So in towards turn one he goes, braking out about 100 centimetres of quarter apex, down to second gear, and as he exits out, now flat out here as he heads up towards Denton's, having to constantly fight with the truck as he comes down the hill, and through turn two, in towards three, breaking his way, squirming all over the road there as he comes through Cascades. Now, onto the throttle, and full throttle as he blasts his way up towards Island Bend at turn number 4. And he's going to have to think about how early he wants to brake for this, and Indian braking about 150 metres of quarter apex, down to third gear, brings it over very nicely into Shell's Bend, braking about 125 metres from apex, down to first, decides to V-cut the corner here to help with rear stability, and it gets on the power, and right now Sharp really does it well, goes from first to second at long last, and now makes his way onto the hilltop here, no chicane to worry about, flat out he goes in third gear, and as he comes over the rise here, already pushing upwards to 150 miles an hour, and into the braking zone he goes, forward will be Nicker, but braking about 200 metres from quarter apex, and coming all the way down to the second gear, keeps it well in track limits. This is very smooth from Kieran Sharp, but does smooth mean it's going to be a great lap. We'll have to wait and see as he comes on through the left-hander here of Oulton Town, now into Druids Bend. As he rolls through the double right, just take it nice and easy in second gear, come on out, and over the rise he goes, now up towards Lodge Corner. And as he does so here, the final major corner of the circuit, but to be fair, I think Deerlink, with the amount of power they're putting through, is a major corner as well now, down to first gear, and as he comes out to the corner, here he goes, just get it pointed, squirt the throttle, and then hit it to the floor, as he makes his way towards the line. Well, for Kieran Sharp, this definitely has been a good lap, but what's it going to be? And the answer is going to be, it's good enough for second there. It's not quite pole position, but it comes close to Zach Sweeney, but to be fair, Sweeney 6.5 tenths quicker than everybody else, but given the gaps and Jamie Nuttall not too far behind, well, you would imagine that Zach Sweeney right now is going to be quite proud of that lap. And, well, we're waiting for a couple more drivers to come through, including Andrew Pike, as the Sim Racing Collective esports driver makes his way down in towards turn number 11, as he does come through the right-hander of Lodge Bend in the 57. Right now, what can the TSRC driver do? Can he put himself onto that second row? Can he get on the front row even? Well, here he comes towards the timing line, and the answer is going to be as he crosses it, or is going to be, in the end, not quite enough to improve the way he wants to. He stays where he is. But meanwhile, Christian Muller finds a bit more time out there, and he does so, it is going to put him in 14th place. We've got a few more drivers who've recently joined as well, including Alfie Bevan, and Bevan's going to get one lap on the board here today. How good is it going to be? And the answer is going to be, it's good enough for 13th place, as that is going to be qualified complete, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, with that, it is time to make our way to the grid for the first of our 2 races today. And, well, first up is the 10-lap sprint. And so, as all of our drivers make their way to the grid in their trucks, this is how they'll all line up for the first race of the day. And as we can see, it is going to be Zach Sweeney with an absolutely brilliant pole position there, that 1 minute 30.853, taking pole by 6.5 tenths ahead of Kieran Sharp, so the privateer ahead of the Sim Racing Collective esports driver. And then round number 2, it's going to be Jamie Nuttall for Cracked Racing ahead of the privateer of Jay Walsh. And then on row number 3, Byron Forrest the second, and he will be starting in that 5th place, and he'll be joined on the 3rd row of the grid, the MRT Moldis racing driver by the Sim Racing Detective Esports' Andrew Pike. Then we do have in 7th there, Valentin Veren, the Dutchman, starting 7th, just ahead of Charlie Morgan for oNiD Racing, the only community racing driver. We've got a few of them here today, which is great to see. And then we do have James Stone Bradford starting 9th for the Privateer, to Lenny Hands for the Privateer, completed your top 10. And then outside the top 10, Finley Secker starts in 11th place there, the Privateer ahead of Matthias Fusken, and we do see the German driver there in 12th place just missing out versus Secker, but in turn he was able to make sure he was one step ahead of your 13th place starter there, the Privateer of Alfie Bevan. And then we do have none other than Howard Marquez, the Portuguese driver, starting 14th, and it'll be Christian Muller in 15th place ahead of Noah Asbaldeston. And then completing your final full row of the grid, it is going to be none other than Daniel Ball, just ahead of Thomas Lowe, starting 17th ahead of the 18th place starter. And from the Nations League Racing Drive and the Privateer, it'll then be Nation League's races Daniel Merchant, who completes your starting order. Now, if you're wondering why my name's on there, a bit of a technical hitch earlier on meant, unfortunately, I did have to join the lobby as a driver, but I promise you I won't be racing today, ladies and gentlemen, as much as it would be interesting to commentate the racing whilst driving it myself. But unfortunately, we won't be doing that today. Instead, we'll be joining the race action here from the commentary booth and covering it all as it unfolds. But all the drivers absolutely itching and set and ready to go. And it's great to see a grand total of 20 drivers coming out today. And, well, we do have the short form formation lap, and it's almost ready to go away. And, well, we do say hello to Eviek1, who's rooted for Finn Secker, and also Charlie Morgan we say hello to. Says, first race for the Sim Racing Collective oNiD. This should be good. And, well, we wish you all the best of luck, Charlie, on your debut race in the collaborative effort between the Sim Racing Collective and oNiD Community Racing. We sit on board with Charlie Morgan. And, well, the oNiD Racing driver right now, give a few revs to the truck there. And, well, I've got to remember my T's rather than my C's. We're not allowed to call them cars, we must call them trucks. And, well, as he gets ready to go, because this will be the start of a series here at the Sim Racing Collective. And I was briefly saying to Kieran Sharp in the build up to this, if only we could run it as a series and perhaps turn the power down and make it as close as possible to the British Pickup Truck Racing Championship. Turn them down to about 350 brake horsepower rather than 625. And perhaps that has sprouted an idea. Now, of course, we've got something very special lined up for our upcoming series, ladies and gents. We're not going to reveal the information today, but what we will reveal at the end of today's broadcast is about the other one-off event we have planned. But right now, we are just waiting to go. Green flag race. Of course, we're waiting for that formation app to get underway. We're just waiting on Zach Sweeney, Noah Asbaldeston, and also, well, in fact, I think that's everyone we're waiting for to take their spots on this grid. But everyone's almost set and ready to go, and we're itching to see how it all plays out here. And in fact, we do have a grand total of 19 drivers making the way to the grid. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to get this formation lap underway. And so, as all the drivers gradually creep their way away, it's going to be absolutely exciting to see how they all get on, no doubt about it. And, well, it's going to be absolutely exciting as they gradually trickle the way away. But as they all do, well, who exactly is going to be the quickest of them all? That's what we hope to see as they make their way onwards. And Sweeney, on paper at least, based on the lap he was able to put together in qualifying, you would imagine that he should run away with this somewhat. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the reality of things or whether the reality is going to be just that little bit different. But, well, that's going to be part of the parcel and part of the fun between these drivers as they gradually make the way on around. But, of course, as they come through the final major corner, coming through a Lodge Bend, it is over to Zach Sweeney to take us away for what will be 10 laps of race action in our first race of the day. And it's lights out, away we go as Sweeney leads them all down towards turn 1. It already goes wrong with the 15 there, and that's going to be Charlie Morgan being propelled out before he's even made it 5 metres across the line. But Sweeney leads them all into the opening bend, and as they do, well, Byron Forrest the second making a move there on Valentin Veren. And when can he hold the line coming through Denton? It's going to be too wide over the crest, and I think Veren's going to hold the inside out to Cascade, and Forrest backs it off. We're coming down through the hill as we say hello to Ben 22 Racing, and everyone into single file formation immediately. And was a difficult start there for Charlie Morgan, no doubt about it. And we have lost Noah Osbald-Eston. His truck, unfortunately, having technical difficulties, it would seem. But Alfie Bevan here started in 13th place. He's up into 9th. He's going to go to 8th here. Good start from Bevan as he goes on the attack, looking around the outside. Too wide he goes, but Finley Secker on the inside. They're defending hard, and this is all about getting the power down. Remember, these tyres cut temperature very quickly on these pickup trucks. they are not going to stay cold for too long. Tyre wear and overheated is going to be the bigger fault and worry here today. Who exactly is going to be a tyre whisperer, we'll have to see. This is the first of many a lap as they head into the braking zone. And for will be Nickelbrook. And as soon as they come out, Zach Sweeney leads them up the hill. Jamie Nuttall staying with him. Kieran Sharp meanwhile slipping away a little bit. Falling back to third with Jay Walsh for close company. But right on the way in towards Druids Bend. We see our top four definitely have got themselves clear now as Andrew Pye in the second pack. Here as the flames spit out the side, exhaust of all the Silverados, and now heading on towards Lodge Bend. Was our top four calming down. Meanwhile, Andrew Pye's definitely got a lot of firm company behind him, and there's going to be a potential look up the inside. Well, is it going to work out there for Valentin Veron? No is the answer, but meanwhile behind, well, we've got Alfie Bevan battling with second once again, and Bevan has got ahead. They made the move into the braking zone for Lodge, and Alfie Bevan now up in 8th place. He's returned the favour, and will smooth move from him. Daniel Merchant a bit further behind, meanwhile, losing out in the battle with Thomas Lowe at the start, but he has got ahead of Christian Mueller. And Mueller and Morgan get close together. Charlie Morgan, of course, with there being no damage model to these machines, they repair on the fly. And right now, he's definitely getting himself back into the fight. Big Cyrus vote for both him and Christian Mueller. But meanwhile, coming out of Cascade, it's Veron ahead of Pye and Byron Forrest the second in the fight for that 5th place. And right now, Veron's trying to break away. It's going to be very defensive driving there for Byron Forrest the second, going for Island Bend. Looking up to the inside now is going to be Bevan, but can he get the move done? He's going to go for it here. He's going to see that low line, and I think he's got the confidence of the power, and he's going to go all in. Oh, what's happened there? That's going to be Veron going around. Valentin Veron has been turned. Now, where he's turned himself or whether he's been made to turn around, we're not quite sure, but the outcome, it definitely stays the same either way, which is going to lose a lot of places. But here comes Alfie Bevan, looking up the inside of Pike in towards Nickelbrook Bend, and well, who's going to be the latest of the late breakers? It is going to be Andrew Pike now on the outside line who holds his ground. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Zach Sweeney and Jamie Nuttall together at the moment. Sweeney not being allowed to break away, but Kieran Sharp is being dropped by the pair as they make the way on towards lap number 3 very shortly. A great race in between them, and remember, we do have 10 laps or 30 minutes, whichever passes first. We're expecting laps to pass initially, and well, Thomas Lowe's had a bit of a difficult start, and he is now trying to get himself back on the road as quickly as he can. Let's get a replay of that to explain what exactly has happened, and well, shortly we was Christian Mueller who closed up behind him. But we look to Andrew Pike, we are still fighting, and in fact, Howard Marquez has got off at Lodge Bend as well. There's been a bit of drama at the corner. Quite sure what's happened there, but you can see the outcome. That's Marquez falls down to 12th, and the Portuguese driver now go hunting after the German of Fusken as they come on towards the next lap. Back to the front of the field we go. We haven't talked too much about our leading quartet, although you can see it's really a leading trio. They are dropping the 4th member right now, and that is Jay Walsh. He's in a bit of a lonely 4th place. We enjoyed a very solid run thus far. Well, if he can keep this up, it's definitely going to be a good result. He'll have to do even more in the next one. Meanwhile, coming back down the order, here is Fusken versus what would be none other than Seca, but he goes too late there on the brakes. It was Island Bend, and we takes a long trip to the grass, and Seca will take that 10th place back. And now Fusken is going to fall down even further as the Bud Light machine finds around the outside him. That's Valentin Veron. We know Veron's got a lot of pace. The rear of the truck slides loose as Marquez Meanwhile going to spin around out to Shell Oils Bend, and he goes to rejoin. But credit to where it's due, all the drivers really giving these trucks a good go, and they're doing a fantastic job. And remember, most of your drivers here today, they will probably have never driven this machine on iRacing, or if they have, most likely only as part of the Rookie Oval Series, which is where it's available as free content, although everyone gets it on their account, but typically they won't have used it, and therefore it means right now they're all learning as they go. Although there's a mistake there through Lodge and Sunny. Zach Sweeney looking vulnerable for the first time. Here's Nuttall on the inside. In towards turn number 1 as they go to lap number 4, and Nuttall takes the lead. But Sweeney now will be thinking to himself, okay, I played the game of being hunted, but now I've got to be the hunter. He gets a much better run there coming out of the opening corner and down the hill from Old Hall in towards Cascades this time. And Kieran Sharp watching on behind as we ride aboard with your number 23. And we're getting an absolute guttural V8 machinery right its way onwards here. And as he stays nice and close, well, Sharp right now has got to play the watching game. He wants to get involved, but of course, when you're the third player in it all, do you attack the man for second and the leader pulls away, or do you wait for the top 2 to fight each other? And Kieran Sharp not only a very tactical driver, to be fair, so I think right now he's just going to study the 2 in front, see where they're gaining time on them and where he's gaining time on them, and then try to work out, maximise his strengths, minimise his weaknesses, and let's go on the attack a little bit later on. But Sweeney right now can't afford to wait. He's going to try and make a move here, coming down towards Nickelbrook Bend, looking to the inside. Into the braking zone they go. And he's too far back to go on the attack. Has to wait his turn instead. As meanwhile, we're having a bit more trouble further down. The old Thomas Lowe's had a big moment. And in fact, that's a big moment at Cascade. Well, the prime tip does get turned back around in the number 11. But it's definitely not gone the way he's wanted it to. And we have lost on the way Howard Marquez. And also, we had a done start for Noah Oswald Eston. But otherwise, we still do have 17 of your 19 runners. Meanwhile, Matthias Fusken under pressure from Daniel Merchant. And Merchant now seemingly to get a little bit more control of his truck as they head through Nickelbrook Bend and up the hill they go. And this battle right now for 13th place. Well, to be fair, no points in the line, just bragging rights. But I suspect these two right now feels like they've got the pace of each other, particularly Merchant, who qualified all the way down in 19th place. Started at the very back of the field with no valid lap set, if my memory serves me correctly. And right now, he's definitely trying to make sure it's a valid result. Pound his way onwards, looking to the inside there, but realises nice and early he's not getting close enough, so backs off there before he really gets too close to think about backing off. And of course, that's the thing, when you've got this amount of power and the amount of weight being thrown around, you do need to get on the brakes a lot earlier than you normally would, and that's all part of the challenge in terms of getting these trucks to stop. Back to the front of the field with Nuttall, Sweeney and Sharp together. But as they make the way on around, let's take a look back at some of the big moments in the start of the race, including how it began. Now, this is when we did go green flag racing, and as quickly as our pickup truck safety car went away, well, it was the safety truck, you could say. Jamie Nuttall definitely tried to look for a move immediately on Sweeney, but it all went wrong at the back of the field there for none other than what was Charlie Morgan. Now, what exactly went wrong for Morgan? Here's the on-board to take a look. And as Morgan was about to go green flag racing, let's listen in. And it was a slow start for Morgan. I think he was pushed around there by whoever started directly behind him. And Charlie Morgan having a nightmare beginning to his day. Well, this was the alternative camera angle. It just goes out of view when it starts. But I think that might have been attacked by what was the number 69 there. And that would be Lenny Hansen's back of Morgan, who I think misinterpreted what Morgan was doing. Morgan was just a little bit slow to react. But then we did have this big moment on the open lap for Howard Marquez as he made his way in towards, I believe that was Druid. In the end, he ended up towards the tree line. He hit the curb, and that sent him slightly wide, but did very well to power through it and rejoin. But that enabled was Daniel Ball to come through, and also there was then an attempt by the man behind that didn't quite work out. On lap number 2, we had a big moment for Christian Muller, meanwhile, and he was under pressure at the time by Morgan, made his way in towards Cascade, went very late on the brakes, went even deeper as everyone else was rejoined, and that was your number 8 there, Daniel Merchant, getting back together, and also Lenny Hansen having a bit of a moment, so a bit of drama there. And we did have only months later this for Valentin Veren as he made his way through Shellwell's Bend. What came out, well, he was a bit too greedy on the power. It snapped one way, he tried to counter steer it, and the Dutchman went around just like that. And we had Finley Secker get it very wrong towards the end of lap number 2, and this was going down towards the Lodge corner, went onto the brakes, and it all snapped to the left. He tried to pull it to the right, but it touched the grass, and after that it went around, and that was a big drift from the 18 there as he was reacted to by Howard Marquez, and Finley Secker there triggered off a bit of a domino effect, if you will. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come back to your live racing, and we come back in good time as well, because we had a bit of drama only moments ago, including a lot of battling going on between Fiskin and also Daniel Merchant. And well, that was on lap number 5. This was the overtake that was made. And this was coming down in towards Lodge Bend, and it was your number 1 of Fusken battling side by side there with Merchant in his number 8, and in the end, how did it end? He was able to power his way out and just defended well enough there. Good defensive driving from him, and then James Stone Radford looked for the move around the outside under braking it into Old Hall Bend, and as he did so, did Stone Radford get it done? He did. Lovely move there. That was commitment, but great respectful race between the two of them. So without further ado, back to your live racing we go. As we do. Zach Sweeney has broken away to a degree, and in fact, we have lost Jamie Nuttall as well. Zach Sweeney goes wide there at Cascades, and that's going to enable Kieran Sharp to take the lead for the first time. And well, now for Sharp, this is definitely going to be a big opportunity here. Can he keep Sweeney behind for the rest of it? Meanwhile, further back, 2 wide coming across the timeline. It's going to be Morgan versus Ball, and right now Daniel Ball still trying to recover. He's got himself back into the top 10 for now, at least. Will he be able to stay there? We'll have to see, because these two have got plenty of fighting, and they're on lap number 7 and 10. And if you get all the laps together, with the lap time being about 1.5 minutes right now. Goodness me, what a race this has been so far. We're expecting 15 minutes of racing approximately, and it's been absolutely full of absolutely brilliant excitement from lights out and, well, slightly all the way to checkered flag. But we've had a bit of a moment for Jamie Nuttall in recent history, and what exactly happened to the man who was chasing the win? Well, this was a bit of a moment for him on lap 5. And this was Nuttall at the time, held in the station behind Sweetie, and he got tapped on the rear there by looks things by Kieran Sharp, who just came in a little bit too hot coming through Lodge Bend, and that's why to get the rear of the truck together, and then it went round for him as we come back to your live racing. And come back to the prime time, see a bit of a battle for 9th place. This will be Ball looking up the inside of Seca, and Finley Seca doing his utmost there to make sure he doesn't lose the position. Well, good defensive drive from Seca, but remember, every time he defends, it's going to cost him a bit more pace in the run to the next corner. And that's the thing about Oulton Park, like many a British circuit, if you defend at one corner, you lose your momentum to the next corner in the sequence, and that'll be Druids in that instance. So Bradford still attacking at Fuskin for what could be a 12th place, and well, get a good run through Druids Bend as we ride on board here, and well, not to be disturbed by the ladies on the back of the car. Well, Jamestown Radford going up the inside there, and well, very quickly gets the move done as Fuskin battles with a little bit of oversteer, and the Sonic the Hedgehog driver just about keeps it track limits, exit the corner. Great pass there by the Briton, and now he's got to try and break away with a 7-second gap to Charlie Morgan, but here comes Daniel Merchant, looking one way then the other. Does he go for the move on the inside? No, not quite. He stays behind. Meanwhile, Jamie Nuttall got ahead of Jay Walsh, and we catch him losing that position of Walsh, who goes wide there at Chevrolet Bend, and Sonny Pike's going to make a move here, and Andrew Pike back of the resurgence, and here comes Byron Forrest the second as well. Wide onto the back stretch they go, over the hilltop, and well, Pike now up in the 4th place, and Forrest the second following suit. And well, it does seem as though the Briton and the American, they seem to mutually agree to each other, if you will, not to essentially step on each other's toes. And it seems to be working out for both of them right now. I think both are still acclimatising themselves to racing the truck, and well, I think they've enjoyed themselves as a result here, but I suspect there might be a bit of fighting towards the very end of this race, or in race number 2, the 16-lap feature. I think we will see a bit more elbows out between them now. They've both got some confidence in the truck, as meanwhile Jay Walsh, a bit too much confidence there coming into Druids Bend, goes very sideways and collects it together, but Jamie Nuttall on a bit of a rebound, and well, Nuttall go for the move around the outside. He will there, as Walsh is not going to fight that, he lets it go, and understandably, I think right now he just looks to settle himself down. But meanwhile, to the back to the front of the field, and it's Sharp versus Sweetie as we look back for the rear of your leading truck, and the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver right now, and definitely trying to keep it together, but here comes Sweetie little by little, getting closer and closer. Does he look up the inside into Island Bend? He's going to think about it there, but Sharp has to cover off his nose, and they've got a bit of traffic in front of them. That is going to be the machinery of Christian Mueller they're catching up to. Your number 10 running 17th place, so that could play to the hands of one of them as we ride aboard the nose camera here of Sweetie, and well, he's going to try and get a run here, coming on through the right-hand kink, and he's going to be side by side as they make the way past the sealed off chicane, and over the hilltop they go, but Sweetie on the inside line, it's going to be Sharp swerving there. The rear of the truck just getting so much power on those rear wheels. He tries to keep it together. Sweetie on the inside too. While they go to Nickerbrook Bend, they're going to touch, but they both survive it. Brilliant, respectful racing. Up the hill they go, and it's going to be Sharp on the inside through Clay Hill in towards Watertown, but Sweetie now back on the inside here, coming in towards Druids Bend, and Sweetie's just got a hold on here. Surely this is going his way. 2-1 they make the way for the first apex, 2-1 for the second apex, and Sharp, it's not going away. He's like a bad rash. He just won't disappear as they come in towards the braking zone right now. Well, Sweetie still attacking hard, but Sharp holding on, going around the outside, and it's going to be Pandemonious. That's Christian Muller going around, but they both somehow avoid the sideways truck, and well, as they go on to what will be another lap, they go on to lap 10, the final lap, the white flag waves, and Sweetie gets ahead going in towards Old Hall, but what a brilliant sequence there. And I think if it were not for the sideways truck and you lot, I think Sharp would have still been alongside going through turn 1, but he had to slightly back off there, and well, both did incredibly well. That sequence was Zach Sweetie taking that move. Now can he hold on for one more lap? Meanwhile, further back, it's close between Morgan and Secker as they get ready to fight over 10th place. And with Charlie Morgan here with a great recovery drive after how it started compared to how it's ending right now. He's going to be definitely ending on a positive note. Secker goes very loose there coming out of the lodge. But unfortunately for Morgan, he can't quite get alongside. He taps him in the rear instead. That helps straighten out Secker, but Morgan loses all the pace. He comes into the braking zone. And well, Ben 22 Racing absolutely love that battle for the lead as we come back to it now. And it's going to be the long run over the hilltop this time. And Sweetie 2 temps clear at the moment, but here comes Sharp roaring his way and getting ready to attack here into the braking zone, but getting this close right now, he's not close enough to be able to look up the inside. Again, he's really got to defend. He's got to commit to the move the best part of around about 500 metres before the corner, because by then you've got to get on the brakes. But as he comes over the hill right now, well, close enough. but the problem is, where does he go from here? And the answer is, he can't really go anywhere as he taps the rear of Sweeney. And we'll definitely get the NASCAR tool set out right now. And Sweeney gets tapped on the rear again. He sends Sweeney around, and Sweeney into the barrier there. And well, whilst the truck will reconfigure itself, it's not going to be able to reconfigure him the victory, because Kieran Sharp right now makes his way for the final quarter. Innocent tap, to be fair. No malice meant, and Sharp backing off. So for Alfie Bevan, well, suddenly he's going to pick up all the pieces, and Alfie Bevan wins in race number 1 of the day of the Oulton Truckfest. It will be Kieran Sharp who releases places back until Sweeney comes on through. So it will be Andrew Pite who finishes second, Byron Forrest the second in third, Zach Sweeney takes fourth, Kieran Sharp recovers to fifth after the result, and then we do see Jamie Nuttall in sixth place ahead of Jay Walsh, who comes on home in seventh place ahead of Valentin Varen, who crosses the line, albeit he's going to be 16 seconds behind. But great sportsmanship there from Kieran Sharp to give up all the places until Zach Sweeney got past him there at the finish line. He definitely calculated that very well, but Valentin Varen will take home 18th place ahead of Daniel Ball just behind, and then we will see Finley Secker bringing home 10th place ahead of Charlie Morgan, defend him off to the end. James Stone Radford will take 12th place. He got a further 5 seconds there to the closing battle of Matthias Fusken and what will be Daniel Merchant. It'll be 13th for Fusken ahead of Merchant, the British driver, behind the German, and then it will be Thomas Lowe a little bit behind. Now, of course, we must make a point that we have seen what is a finish of the race in our 17th place finishers form of Christian Müller, so he's made it a lap down, but right now Thomas Lowe makes his way towards the finish. He's just coming down here in towards Lodge Bend, where he's definitely had a bit of a challenge in race number 1, but they're all learning as they go here. Remember, this is a machine, the Chevrolet Silverado 2008 NASCAR truck, that many of them will have never driven before on the service, so they're having to get used to it, and particularly the fact there is a manual gearbox as well, as Lee Hansen comes across the line to be your last finisher of this race on the lead lap. But what a race, ladies and gentlemen, and as we look to the scenic view, well, the good news is we've got another race to come shortly. But before we get to that one, well, in fact, we are already gridding for it. We've got no intervening period, ladies and gentlemen, so as a result, we will walk you through the grid instead, and well, essentially they will line up how they finished from race number 1, but we completely invert it. So it would be myself starting on pole because of the technical issue we had, but of course I will not be starting on pole position. I'll be giving way, and instead it will be Noah Asbaldeston who starts on pole position directly behind. So this is how your grid actually lines up, and it's Noah Asbaldeston who starts on pole, as him having finished, will not finish the first race, so therefore he has the right to start on pole should he make it to the grid. If not, it'll be Howell Marquez, who retired after a couple of laps in the opening race due to a technical issue, and will the Portuguese drive back once again. Then on row number 2, it'll be Christian Müller, the privateer, ahead of Lenny Hansen. And on row 3, Thomas Lowe and Daniel Merchant will be together, and expect some more fireworks between them, much like in race number 1. Behind the Nations League Racing Drive, it will then be the privateer of Matthias Fusken, and we'll see him joined on the 4th row by the privateer James Stone Radford, the Dogs driver, who definitely today looking forward to seeing what he can make the most of this second race. Charlie Morgan for oNiD Racing starts in 9th place, ahead of Finley Secker, the privateer. That's going to be your top 10. In 11th place, it is going to be Daniel Ball for Nations League Racing, ahead of Valentin Varen, who starts in 12th. Behind the Dutchman, who looks very quick, but he needs to get his truck under a bit more control in the first race, but hopefully he's now got on top of that. Well, behind him will be Jay Walsh, the privateer, who slowly and steadily made his way up through the ranks, but unfortunately couldn't quite bring home the podium. He'll be just ahead of Jamie Nuttall for Cracked Racing, who had leading pace, but a critical mistake cost him dear. Kieran Sharp starts in 15th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, just behind him Zach Sweeney, the man he made that late contact with and gave the place up to. Great respect shown between the two after that incredible, almost lap-long battle towards the end of race 1. And then we will see Byron Forrest the second, and he, for what will be MRT Maldus Racing, we starting 17th ahead of Andrew Pite for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, and then starting right at the back, having taken the race 1 win today, it will be Alfie Bevan, the privateer. And Ben22 says, don't let Alfie win, we won't hear the last of this. And will Alfie definitely take that first win of the day? Can he make it back-to-back wins here? He was a bit fortunate to capitalise on all the madness between Sharp and Sweeney at the very end of race 1, but sometimes you have to be in the right place at the right time to do so. But that's how they all line up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. And well, it was an absolutely brilliant race number, no doubt about it. Remember, they line up as they finished from race 1, but we completely invert the order. So it's the last of the drivers who start towards the front, and it is the winning driver who starts right at the very back. Well, we're almost ready to go once again. We're just waiting for a couple of trucks to get into position, and I've finally corrected my use of the word car to truck, albeit that means probably for every broadcast to do later on this week, I'm going to be referring to cars as trucks, to be fair. And indeed, it is one of those mental features to flip a switch, if you will. But Christian Müller right towards the very front. And well, he's waiting right now. He'll be very happy to be seeing essentially a clear track in front of him, unless we do see Howard Marquez and Oswald Eston make the way to the grid, but I doubt it. And Sonny Miller will be taking what will be effectively that pole position. So we have lost from the starting order Noah Oswald Eston and Howard Marquez, and well, as a result, it means Christian Muller will suddenly be handed pole position, and in doing so, well, now he has a golden opportunity here to see whether he can make it a win today. But the whole field pulls its way away, and it does so behind him. Well, we've not got long before we go green flag racing once again, and it's going to be a perfect opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to take a quick sip of water, because I think my voice may not be able to take it otherwise. As the field makes way behind, well, oh, goodness me, and Kieran Sharp there, and Andrew Pike having a bit of a coming together, it would seem. So those two have had a conversation before they've even gone green flag race, and they'll be starting right from the back of the field. But as they head on around right now, well, it's over to Christian Muller to take us green flag racing. And well, ladies and gentlemen, as he does so, unfortunately, our overlay seems to have sprouted a bit of a technical issue, but we are green as they roar the way down towards turn one. We'll fix the overlay issue when we can. But as the field makes well through there, well, definitely close back to the action already. Lenny Hansen's ran away, and meanwhile, Christian Miller's had a poor start to this one as they all found their way. 3, perhaps even 4 wide for a brief mode, coming down the hill and in towards what will be turn number 3. But down towards Cascade here, we can see a bit of side by side as that's going to be Byron Forrest the second, sitting behind Daniel Ball. And well, now they make the way up towards Island Bend, and well, everyone will be absolutely pushing as much as they possibly can. But goodness me, it has been absolutely brilliant thus far, and still more to come between all of our truckers, no doubt about it, as we've got somebody getting a bit wrong now on the braking load thing, and I think that was a major lock-up for one of our truckers. I think that might be James Stone Bradford there, locking up the front left brake, but keeping it together as Lenny Hansen and Daniel Merchant very close together right now as they power the way onwards, and will we see a bit of a change of foot between these two? And the answer is going to be no, not at this time, as they break the one down. And right now Lenny Hansen holds on to the lead. As I say, we are trying to get our overlay back when we can, and it's out of our control at the moment. We are waiting for the service, but we can see 2 wide James Stone Bradford versus Jay Walsh, the number 3 across the 13. It was going to be damage, and it's James Stone Bradford turns to the barrier there, and well, it means Alfie Bevan's now moved up into 3rd place. So result that contact between Walsh and Stone Bradford. And suddenly for Alfie Bevan, he's come all the way from 19th place already up into 3rd. Well, how about that for a start for Alfie Bevan? He's had an absolute monster run, and can he carry this on? Can he bring on home what could be both wins today? And if so, I think he'll definitely have earned himself the bragging rights to do so as he makes his way on down. But as he does so, coming in towards and turn number 1 once again, well, it is Lenny Hansen who leads ahead of Daniel Merchant, followed by Alfie Bevan, and then we do have Jamie Nuttall in 4th place at the moment, and behind him will be none other than Zach Sweeney. Then we do have Jay Walsh. Oh, that's going very wide for Daniel Merchant at number 8 as he dips his toes, or his tyres in fact, to the grass there for what is another Cascades Bend. It went a bit sideways there for him. Meanwhile, behind, we can see Andrew Pike trying to get a bit more involved as he makes his way in. Andrew Pike right now looking to do battle, but is it going to work out for Pike? And the answer seems to be no at the moment, as he's got Kieran Sharp trying to look around the outside of him. Sharp in the number 23 there trying to make a move. And well, Andrew Pike going the fence, of course. The two of them had words right at the start of the race in the team. And right now they're having words midway through the race. Oh, a little bit of tap there. This is sent Pike to the grass. And does he get it back on? Oh, and he clips. What will be the machinery there of none other than Charlie Morgan. And for Morgan, it all goes round, and it's parked in the middle of the road. And for Morgan, it's all gone very much wrong, and he's going to try and get that back together as quickly as he can. Well, as he does so, trying to get up the pace. And, well, definitely for Charlie Morgan, a bit of a frustrating moment in the race, but it can go that way at some time. And right now, all he's got to do is get his head back in there and hope it all works out once again. Again, we do apologise for the fact we've got no overlay at the moment. It has, unfortunately, given up on us. We are hoping it is going to come back at some point in the near future, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, at least, it just does not seem to work out. As the drivers make the way around, Daniel Merchant definitely getting it together as our overlay finally returns to the ether. We do apologise for that, but it does seem to be an intermittent issue that we have now resolved. And meanwhile, Daniel Merchant having to defend it as it's going to be valented there and up his inside. And there it goes, lives the unnumbered number 17. And well, the priority of 3 wide there, Kieran Sharp trying to hold on, but in the end slips to the grass. And now coming down the hill through to number 2 in towards 3. Look around the outside here, and the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver holds his line with the words "Kiss My Bass" on the side of it. And right now, I get the thing that might be in reference to something there. And, well, I think he makes his way onwards. Well, right now, definitely getting into the trucking spirit. And, well, as we say hello there to Martin Legg, 7847. And good evening to you, good sir. Hope you're doing well. What a race this has been so far. There's been so many iconic moments. And, well, we are not even a quarter way through. Remember, this is a 16-lap race, whereas our sprint was 10 laps. This is 16. And Alfie Bevan right now ahead of Jamie Nuttall and Zach Sweeney. As they're coming down, Sweeney has made his way up the order and, well, getting ready to attack Nuttall if he can. But remember, Nuttall and Sweeney were very equal in the first half of race number 1, and it was towards the end of the race that Nuttall made a mistake and opened up a doorway as well. That's a mistake there for Jay Walsh. Now, where he's been aided on his adventure coming through what was Knickerbrook Corner, I'm not quite sure. What we are sure is the fact he has rejoined. He falls down to 10th place. We'll get some replays of the big moments very shortly, ladies and gents, but definitely some drama between our drivers as Walsh makes his way on through Druids Bend. But as he does so, well, right now, your number 3 at Britain definitely trying to keep his head down as best he possibly can. As we got Valentin Barron on the inside there, elbowing at Lenny Hansen, and Kira Sharp says the space is open. I'm going to go for it as well. So Hansen now drops behind as we ride aboard here with your privateer. And, well, as he looks behind, you'll see that's 2 wide behind. That's going to be Byron Forrest the second, trying to make the move on Daniel Merchant up the inside. Well, Forrest will get that done. Lovely move there for the American trucker as he now makes his way down towards turn number 3. And his next target will be Lenny Hansen for 6th place if he can. But we are Sharp versus Veron. And Veron on the inside. And the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver had to let the Dutchman go as he dips a rear right tyre onto the grass there. And what's happened just underneath our camera? Oh, goodness me, Daniel Merchant and Lenny Hansen together. And somebody went to left. That was Daniel Ball, who's rejoined. But as he does so, he's led to a bit of chaos in his rejoin, it would seem. Finley Secker getting ahead of Andrew Pike there. Jay Walsh tucking in behind. And James Stone Bradford side by side with Daniel Ball once again as they go for Island Bed. It's chaos everywhere you look, but it's great chaos here. It's positive chaos, we could say, if there is such a description. And right now, Secker up into 7th. Will he be there for long? Will he fall back later on? And we'll have to wait and see. But what a crazy race it's been so far. As Secker takes the grass there rather than the normal right and kink out of 6th. And we'll keep it together. But as they come down right now, goodness me, Andrew Pike comes roaring up the outside here. Onto the brakes they go, and, well, throwing the car in. And the British driver here right now, not able to get past his fellow countryman. And Finley Secker holding on as Jay Walsh now gets onto the queue. As he makes his way out in towards Druids Bend right now. Well, it's going to be a bit of a look up the inside, but takes a lot more curb than he meant to. But thankfully, because these trucks sit so high, he can mount that curb and roll over it. But definitely not say he wants to keep doing, because hit it too hard and too quick, and suddenly you're going to be leaping into the air on 2 wheels, and understandably you're going to be heading towards a barrier. But Walsh really getting a bit close there as he dropped down to first gear, and it will absolutely hammers it up in a second. And he right now really wants to get through, but sometimes being in the higher gear just helps you get the traction. And into the braking zone for turn 1 onto lap 5 he goes. Right now Jay Walsh definitely wants to get through, but meanwhile at the front we've got a change of leader. Jamie Nuttall has found his way past Alfie Bevan recently. We will get a replay of that very shortly plus other moments. And Zach Sweeney's there behind, but whilst they're all so close together, we don't want to get any replays in. Oh, goodness me, it goes round for the 9, and Finley Secker goes into contact with Jay Walsh, and Andrew Pike past the seas. Oh my goodness, and that's going to be almost Daniel Ball and Stone Bradford being picked up there. Not quite, and well, there's all smoke in the background, and well, I think that is the end. Jay Walsh getting it back on the road, but not about causing a bit of a smoke screen, and Charlie Morgan and Secker both come back on as well. And for Charlie Morgan, he just about finds the road in all amongst the chaos, the carnage and the smoke. And will the oNiD Racing dry up in the 12th place now, but that's the most unconventional way of getting to that position. As we Jay Walsh dives up the inside of second. Well, they've both been in drama, but neither one wants to give up on this battle right now. It really feels low here. Both of them have missed the bus and right now just still fighting, whereas the one is running away. But that's definitely going to cause a bit of a split in the field, as meanwhile your leaders will know such theatrics at the moment as they head onto lap number 6 shortly. But Nuttall finding that Bevan is not leaving him alone. He is staying there, and Sweeney right behind at the moment. But as Nuttall looks up towards turn number 1 again, well, can Bevan find a way in? Sweeney playing a bit more passive, and well, tyre life is definitely going to be a big fault here. Or less so perhaps tyre life, more tyre temperature. And well, these trucks, they pick up a lot of temperature on those rear tyres very quickly, given the fact that you really are forced into so much horsepower through those rear wheels. And for the uninitiated, we are running unfiltered NASCAR Silverado trucks from 2008 as Alfie Bevan gets the better run out of Cascade and passes Jamie Nuttall in towards Island Bend. So that means they are running 625 brake horsepower through those rear tyres on a road circuit. As in the end, Sweeney's going to try and go around the outside of Nuttall through Shell Oils. That's not going to work out initially, but what it will do is now put away a 2 wide course, going on through, but Nuttall takes a bit too much grass and curb there, and Zach Sweeney will get through with the draft of Bevel, and these trucks build up a huge toe off each other as well. So that's why Sweeney was able to use the toe off of Bevan just to seal the deal. And we go for a nickel record at the moment. Nuttall wants to get back at Sweeney, but is it better to be patient and simply follow the second place man to catch back up to leading? So fight the second too hard. Alfie Bevan may just be able to walk away with this, and well, if he does so, he'll be taking both wins today. And what a turnout that will be. The man who joined very late, just before we got to go, well, just before we went racing, he joined with only 4 minutes left in the qualifying session and managed to sneak a lap in. And we was very sneaky about getting that in, but the number 20 trucker right now absolutely doing a fantastic job here as Nuttall and Sweeney. Oh, what's happened to Sweeney? He's gone round there at Lodge Bend. We've got a safety car and well, in fact, a safety truck. And well, as all the drivers come together, suddenly we have got what is a slowdown of the race in here. So I do wonder whether that's been called for what is Zach Sweeney, or whether that's been held in reserve there by our organisers, whether they decided just to play the safety car out in order to bunch the field back up and increase the excitement level. Of course, this is a one-off event. There are no points on the line, and well, this is definitely going to group everyone together, but as it does so, it gives us an opportunity to take a look back at some of the big moments of the start, ladies and gentlemen, including this altercation between Kieran Sharp and Andrew Pike before we even went racing, and this was on the formation lap. Now, so all queued up together what exactly happened. And well, it was the number 4 that came across there. So that was Nuttall turning Sharp around. It was not Andrew Pike who had to slam on the brakes. That did Sweeney. So Pike then did queue up behind and gave Sharp a little bit of push to say, well, you might as well get moving. So a bit of a barge between Nuttall and Sharp, and then they did get it back together. And then we did go green flag racing. And as we did so, well, right from the front of the field, it was Christian Muller who took us to the green. And for the prototype from Germany in the end, having a not great start. I think he really bogged down Christian Muller, just held that inside line or the outside line in the end. And well, I wonder where he had a bit of an issue with his gearbox there, and well, it just did not go. Meanwhile, it went very much go, and then sideways to Finley Seku got turned around on the opening corner. And well, how exactly did it go wrong for him? The answer is as follows. This was as they came down in towards turn 1 with Miller on the outside. They're fanning everyone towards a tighter line. 3 wide he was, and in the end, well, a bit of contact there with number 11 and went around by looks of things. But Finley Secker definitely tried to be brave, but that bravery was for naught versus Thomas Lowe. And his rival from the GR86s, and he found his rival once again. But later on, we had this for Jay Walsh after completing that corner. Well, he had to take evasive action very quickly and got the power down, and at that point, he had to point and struck straight. He got onto the grass and he rejoined just in time to Denton's bend, but went onto 2 wheels for a brief moment there. A bit of a brave moment from him, no doubt about it. And there was plenty of fighting behind, because that was for Jamie Nuttall that had Zach Sweeney for company as they made the way up towards was Island Bend. But who exactly got the upper hand here? And well, it was Nuttall with Alfie Bevan squeezing his way in. But then on lap number 2, this happened to Charlie Morgan coming through turn number 6. I believe that was Andrew Pike being tapped by Sharp, and Morgan was minding his own business and got collected by what was Pike. Went spin on the round, held the brakes, and in the end everyone was able to avoid him just about. So a nightmare moment there for Charlie Morgan, a very unfortunate one for him as well. Then on lap number 3 we had what was this? Big up for Jay Walsh after he was in a bit of a recovery work in, and well, coming down over the hilltop a lap later, made his way to Nickelbrook Bend. He was pushing hard, but way too much speed, and at that point went to the gravel trap and drifted his way out of it. Just tapped the barrier, but that's not going to do any damage to the car or the truck. But as he brought his way back on, in the end, getting it very much back on the racing line, and everyone had to take a bit of evasive action there. But well done to everybody involved. Then on lap 4, we had this big bit of drama coming on through Cascades, and that was to the barrier there for Lenny Hansen. Daniel Paul managed to stay out of trouble until the number 3 went up the inside of him, and that was Jay Walsh. And Walsh in the end in the contact there, and well, it was all scrappy. Daniel Merchant being collected by Hansen, and Paul being collected with Walsh, and well, they gradually made their way back onto the road. But then on lap 5, this happened to Finley Secker. And Secker was making his way on through Cascades, went very deep, went deeper and deeper and deeper, and in the end you cannot start a big weight like that, but unfortunately on the way to try to get it stopped, he turned around and collected Jay Walsh, and with that, Walsh made sure not to make too much of a ham sandwich out of it, and he got himself turned, as did Secker, and then, oh my goodness, the rest of the field came charging on through, and they all parted the seas around. The Daniel Merchants had to do that 4 times now in this race, dodge everybody, and then we had this, which triggered the safety truck. And this was Zach Sweeney versus Jamie Nuttall. It was a bit of drama in towards the braking zone there for what was turn number 11 at Lodge Bend. And they went around with him, and I think he was then tapped by Nuttall as he was already heading around. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now do come back to your live circuit side action. And, well, we are still behind the safety truck at the moment. And when it is called, we do have to be behind it for at least 2 full laps. As we do see Martin Legg saying, these look amazing fun. And indeed, they are absolutely incredible. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to put the question to you. Would you potentially one day like to see us here at the Sim Racing Collective, in collaboration with oNiD Community Racing, potentially do a championship with these? We might have to adjust the setup of them, perhaps take a little bit of the power out of them just to make them a bit easier to drive, particularly the fact we will need to turn the damage on and instant points on for the purposes of running a championship or a league. But do let us know whether you would like to see a league on some longer road circuits like Oulton Park International, which you see here today, minus its chicanes. Because, well, I'll tell you one thing, this event right now has been absolutely incredible. And, well, these trucks are an absolute hit, it would seem. And I do love the fact, as we do go on to one more lap, as, oh, hold up a second, who's stuck it into the pit lane? Kieran Sharp decides to come on in. Well, that's going to be a trip through the pit lane there, and not quite sure why, but your 23 trucker decides to park up, and, well, perhaps he's got a penalty there for some reason, or perhaps he's decided to put fresh tyres on. I think that is to put a fresh tyre on the rear of the truck, and the understanding will be, as we've had a couple of our truckers come in, well, I think the full process is essentially and that he's replacing the rear tyres to give himself the better traction, but it will put it to the back of the field. But remember what we said earlier on, we do expect those rear tyres, they will get very hot as time goes on, and, well, it's the heat in those tyres that makes them a lot harder to drive, getting that power down. And, well, as they all head on around, have the lights gone off on our safety truck? Yes, they have. So it means at the end of this lap, we will be going racing once again. So at the end of lap 9, we will go on to lap 10. And we will be green flag racing for 7 laps to complete the day here. But it has split the field, and we've had a few of our truckers come in. Daniel Ball, Daniel Merchant, Jay Walsh, and also Charlie Morgan, and more recently Kieran Sharp. So with that, they are on fresher rear tyres, and that may give them a bit of a tactical advantage later on when they've got the better tyre. And understandably, that tyre will get up to temperature quite quickly, but they've all got to make the way through from the back of the field, which is going to make it hard. The odd one out in that group is Christian Mueller, the German driver, the privateer, who has not come into the pit lane and instead opted to stay on his tyres. Perhaps not aware of the fact that you can essentially get a free tyre change, although you will lose out, as Charlie Morgan gives up places there. I wonder if he's just having to sort out the order, and if so, well, that's definitely right now a little bit of a technicality between those two truckers. But coming around, and, well, we're only now half a lap away from restarting, and it's Alfie Bevan who is your leader going into the safety truck restart. And, well, can Bevan make it 2 from 2? Remember, he started from the back of the field to this one after winning the sprint, and winning the sprint by essentially parting the seats from Jamie Nuttall and from Kieran Sharp and Zach Sweeney, who'd had that contact right towards the end, and passed Nuttall along the way after his own misdemeanor. And right now for Bevan, he's definitely showing that he's very confident in the Chevrolet Silverado. That is that confidence going to be put to a bigger test, as we do see Nuttall and Sweeney behind. And right now, Sweeney on the left there, he is definitely showing he wants to get past Nuttall quickly. And I think Zach might know how to restart a little bit better. He did put together that absolute monster pole lap by 6.5 attempts. And of course, taking pole position is one thing, winning the race is another. Right now, your number 25, he is definitely looking to be very confident in himself. And if he can make this work out, well, understandably, it could be a race that he wins, but he'll have to get his way past Nuttall and then find a way to get past a very wide Silverado of Bevan. But creeping around right now, we're not too far away from the restart, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your hats, because very soon, Alfie Bevan will be given the call to back the field away from the safety truck. And when he does so, well, it'll be over to him to take us for the remaining 7 laps of racing here at the Cheshire countryside at the Oulton Park International Circuit. So the safety truck pulls away, and for Bevan, he goes immediately. He does not waste any time, but Jamie Nuttall saw what was going on. So does Zach Sweeney. We are go for 7 more laps as they roar the way towards Old Hall Bend. Finley Secker looking for the move around the outside again of Pike. He tried it on the opening lap. It did work out. Tries it this time. Always gets it to work. But look at Nuttall bursting up to there and there right now in towards Denton's there. He's on the outside as he hits the bumping cascade. And in the end, holds the truck on the outside line. It doesn't quite work out. But now roaring the way on towards of the island bend shortly past Lakeside. And right now, everyone's safely through the opening few quarters. It's great to see. Further back, Jay Walsh and Thomas Lowe. And Walsh getting ahead into the braking zone. He goes, and Daniel Merchant falling behind. Meanwhile, not the best of starts for Daniel Merchant. He can surely get back into this one as they all come onto the anchors for the first time on the restart. Harden in anger as Matthias Fisken being passed there by Lenny Hansen. But Hansen right now feeling quite confident. But all of those who change tyres are now behind Fisken. Daniel Bull being the first of them here as they head onwards. But in the rear of the pitch, there we see a bit of run wide for Christian Muller, who falls all the way to the very back of the field. Here they come over the rise right now, and Bull versus Walsh. Here they go onto the brakes, and Jay Walsh on the inside. He'll get on through. Lovely move there from Jay Walsh. And will he hold it now? Heading up the hill. Bull's still going to be side by side. Bull in the orange truck. Meanwhile, the Darrell Junior Tribute livery truck of Jay Walsh there does clear in the end, coming in towards Water Tower. Out the front of the field, Bevan, Sweeney, Nuttall. And Zach Sweeney did get ahead of Jamie Nuttall in the end of what was turn number 5 at Sherwell's Bend. And now for Bevan, he's got to try to hold on as they come through that braking zone. Further back, Walsh versus Fisken, and Fisken looking around the outside. He's going to drift wide. He goes around, and it all goes sideways there for the German driver. And well, now tries to get turned around. He does so very quickly, but it's a mistake he makes. And meanwhile, Sonny loses a lot of places. Daniel Merchant retakes one, but now he's got Charlie Morgan looking around his outside. And Morgan, who's had a lot of the bad luck today, does he make this one work out? Bit of a touch. Oh no, it's going to go wrong for both of them. And Morgan in with contact with Daniel Merchant for Merchant being turned around, but he'll very quickly turn it around on the grass. But back to the front we go on lap 11 of 16, and Bevan, Sweeney and Nuttall. Then it's 2.5 seconds to Valentin Varen ahead of Byron Forrest II, with Andrew Pike and Finley Secker completing the run to 7th place, and 2 seconds back James Stone Bradford and Lenny Hansen and Jay Walsh. Here they are the rest of the top 10 as Jay Walsh trying to make his way through, and Walsh now battling with Hansen again. These two battled earlier on. Oh, and it goes loose there for Hansen, and by the time that Walsh had got the throttle down, he had no way to stop it, otherwise he would have gone around himself, and he helps Hansen on his way. So he gains 9th place, but a bit contentiously, and well, it's going to stay as is now with Jay Walsh moving onward, chased after Stone Bradford next. But still, that's one truck out the way, he'll say, and Daniel Bull and Kieran Sharp now behind. But remember, these two did change their rear tyres during the safety truck window, and therefore this could lead to a bit of a change of foot, whereby they've got fresh tyre life right towards the very end. Is it going to work out for them? Can they get the most out of those tyres? Sharp looking from outside to inside. Daniel Bull just going defensive. Coming up the corner, at least it stays stationary for now. Lenny Hansen and Matthias Fisken. Well, as we see a rejoin there from Thomas Lowe. I don't know what's gone wrong for Lowe going through Clay Hill, but it's gone to the grass. He brings himself back on. Oh, what's happened to Valentin Varen? He's gone round that Lodge Bend, and he's going to drop down the order as well. So some of our drivers getting it wrong, but others still getting it right. And speaking about getting it right, well, Jamie Nuttall there. Oh my goodness, he's going very sideways in 3rd, and coming down the hill right now. Well, your top 3 definitely all pushing each other as much as they possibly can. And Byron Forrest II, well, he's ahead of Andrew Pike and bringing Finley second for the ride, but you can see Stone Bradford, Walsh and Sharp, they all catch up as well. So it does seem as though right now for Byron Forrest, he has got to do everything he can to hold on for this 4th place. As meanwhile, coming in towards the left-hander of Island Bend, well, he's building up a queue behind, but you may be able to get them all to fight each other instead. But he goes very defensive then to Shell Bend, and with smart defence, no doubt about it. Valentin Varen makes way the inside of Charlie Morgan, taking back one of the places he lost after his spin out of Lodge. But Morgan's not going to give out without a fight. Looking back round the outside, Varen goes a little bit deep, but Morgan's not close enough to capitalise. Back up the road, you see Stone Bradford and Walsh side by side. Jay Walsh on the inside here, on the left of your picture, Stone Bradford on the right. And well, can the Sonic the Hedgehog truck hold on? No, not if. You're going to see them move. Oh, they touch, and it's going to send both of them around Walsh and Stone Bradford together. And will they part the seas? They get off the tarmac, and it all goes round for both of them as they go to rejoin. Meanwhile, at the front, Bevan, Sweeney, and Nuttall, they're still close together right now. If they were any closer at this point, I think one would be in what would be the rear cab of the other. And it was Alfie Bevan right now make sure that he doesn't have a Silverado in his flatbed. Well, meanwhile, Jamie Nuttall are not quite able to get the power down. They're coming out of Lodge, and into Old Hall they roar for the 13th time of asking. But look at Sweeney here. He is really starting to get that confidence, and this is helping him as Ben runs a little bit wide. Here comes Sweeney looking down the outside into a dent, and he's going to put him on the inside of Cascades. That's where he wants to be. Bevan in the end, however, beats him on the brakes there, and Alfie Bevan, how he's got that stopped, I don't know. It was loose, and then Sonny's got it all straightened up just in the nick of time. And I think even if Sweeney is admiring that, he's lost out as a result of it. And here they go on through the quarter, but meanwhile, Forrest II versus Andrew Pike. Retaking that full place there as Pike found his way through, but meanwhile second looks to the inside, but he's crowded off the road there by Pike, and Pike right now saying to him essentially, you're not coming through unless I let you through. And well, second having to wait a little bit, you'll find that was a bit rude as Kieran Sharp will now the head of those who have taken tyres in the safety car window. Well, now he goes onwards and looking for the move on Seka. He's only 8 tenths behind here. He is getting within attacking distance. He's still got a bit more work to do. I don't think he's going to be chasing for the win in this one unless there's a huge incident up front. But anything can happen. It normally does in motorsport, as the late great Murray Walker once said. As we do see Daniel Ball leaving behind this man, Charlie Morgan. Well, Morgan right now a bit of a lonely 9th place at James Stone Bradford completing that top 10. And Valentine Waring continues to make his way back up through the order in 11th off camera. But back on camera, we do now glue ourselves to your leaders for a little bit of time. As Alfie Bevan, Zach Sweeney and Jamie Nuttall together, but Sweeney is definitely now looking to be the strongest of the top 3 in terms of the amount of pace he's putting down as they roll away on to the next lap. Here goes Sweeney then, looking around the outside. This will be the setup to, well, no, he's going to try and go all the way round the outside here. Bevan in the end respects the fact he's there. They touch once, they touch twice, but they both settle it down as they come down in towards Cascades. It's Sweeney on the inside and nose ahead under braking. Does he get it done? The answer's going to be yes. What a move from Zach Sweeney. And well, that moves him into the lead for now as Bevan and Nuttall together. Here comes Nuttall. Oh my goodness. And in the end, does he touch? I think he does touch Christian Miller there. So they put a lap on him, and there's contact between Nuttall and Bevan. And Bevan goes sideways, but Nuttall helps him straighten the truck out. And Zach Sweeney right now is going to just pull away as Bevan on the inside. 2 wide, they're coming around. Rear of the truck letting go there on such a tight line, trying to get the power down. This is a drag race right now, and it's a drag race that very Bevan should lose given that inside line. He does in the end. Meanwhile, oh, what has happened here at Shell Bend? That's Andrew Pike and Byron Forrest II finding different ways to take the corner, and goodness me, well, Forrest II there tapping Pike on the rear. I think there's a little bit of red mist between those two, and we'll try and get a replay of that when we can. But right now, more change of foot. That's Vanity bearing around the outside of Jay Walsh, and what Andrew Pike finding what is Vinny Secker going to pass, so is Charlie Morgan, and well, is James Stone Bradford going to come through? The answer is yes, he will. So it's all change between them as we get a quick look back at what exactly happened to Byron Forrest II and Andrew Pike. So this was the pair making the way up to a Shellwell's Bend into the braking zone, and Pike tapped Forrest II on the rear, and it sent both of them round. And I think Byron Forrest II not too pleased about that, and that's why we did see that little bit of a push as they came back together. Although, to be fair, I think Byron Forrest II was also actually trying to take up wading action, to be fair. I don't think that was intentional, although the camera angles make it look like it was intentional. It definitely was not. But meanwhile, we come back to your live racing. 2 laps to go, and as Zach Sweeney rolls his way around, well, right now looking to be 1.2 seconds clear of Jamie Nuttall and open up that gap, and Sweeney's left it to the very last laps here to try and make the break. Understandably, this is the perfect time to do so. And well, as we see Jamie Nuttall pushing very hard there for Island Bend. He's not giving up as Nuttall. He's really trying to crank this out as much as he can. The only problem is he's trying to get the power down in the wrong place, and it's cost him all the time. Meanwhile, further back, Charlie Morgan looking up the inside of Secker, heading out to Cascade. And Morgan right now trying to end his down at high. He's really been involved in all the big shunts today, but Morgan makes that move as Second Stone Radford come together, and Andrew Pike gets caught up in it as well, and all 3 of them come to blows, and suddenly Charlie Morgan will be safe from that one, at least for now. Jay Walsh, meanwhile, trying to catch up to Valentine there and trying to come back at him. Too far back there, going through the left hand of Island Bend to be able to make any magic happen, or is he? He gets a much better run, in fact so much so he has to back off there. Corner exit through fear of tapping the Dutchman on the rear, and that's how they'll stay. But your leader meanwhile, well, he's got 1 more lap to turn. On to lap 16 goes Zach Sweeney, and he does so. 2.1 seconds is his lead to Jamie Nuttall, who has Alfie Bevan for close company. But next time around, well, from the white flag, it will be at the finish line, I do believe, ladies and gentlemen. And well, we are on to that final lap of the day, and right now for Zach Sweeney, all he's got to do is control it around the circuit one more time. In a truck whose tyres will definitely be feeling the heat, and he's felt the heat today in terms of the pressure battling, but he's enjoyed himself as Nuttall versus Bevan. Absolutely now the main focus of the lead trio. 4 attempts, and Bevan absolutely pushing on as much as he can. But understandably here, being as far as he is back, he needs to get a bit closer. He's going to be a bit daring through some of these corners if he wants to make a move. But has he got the life left? Has he got the stamina left to do this? Because this is exhausting racing. And, well, you can understand there as Nuttall was sideways and straight coming out Shells. It takes an eternity to get it straightened out. And Bevan has to back off there. And, in fact, as Nuttall continues to struggle, it's constantly wanting to pull to the right. And, well, here we go. As they make the way down towards Nickerbrook corner, will Bevan go for it? The answer is no. Too far back here. 2 attempts is not enough. And, well, the speed he picked up there, pushing towards 200 kilometres an hour, but still just not able to find a way in as they roll the way over the cliff top, over the clay hill and in towards Water Tower. But right now for Bevan, having to hold his post and just pressure Nuttall into a potential mistake. But 3 seconds is the gap to the leader, and as our leader of Zach Sweeney makes his way in towards the final quarter, we may have been denied victory in race number 1 with a late altercation with Kieran Sharp, but make no mistake, he's not going to let it happen in this one. Zach Sweeney comes through to take victory in race number 2 here, the privateer. What a drive from him, and Jamie Nuttall versus Alfie Bevan. We'll see Jamie Nuttall take the runner-up spot just ahead of Bevan by only a 10th at the line. Kieran Sharp will shortly come on through in the Kiss My Bars Sim Racing Collective Esports Machines take full place ahead of Byron Forrest II, who somehow, some way has recovered his way all the way to 5th. Well done to the American trucker for that. And behind him, it will then be Daniel Ball, who makes his way through to 6th place at a Charlie Morgan, and it'll be Andrew Pike a bit further back as we do see a lap down finish for Christian Muller. Then it will be Andrew Pike coming on through, and well, that's going to be Finley Secker getting very close, but I think Pike will just hold on ahead of Secker, and then it will be Matthias Fusken who will complete the top 10 in the number 1. And will the privateer driver today definitely having a fun day out there, even if it didn't quite go his way. He heads to the line. James Stone Bradford comes on very, very shortly to take 11th place, and then it will be Jay Walsh who glides his way unceremoniously across the line in 12th to the barrier as well. Valentine Vernon will take 13th place, and Thomas Lowe will shortly come through to be your last finisher on the lead lap. Along the way, we have lost from this race Daniel Merchant and Lenny Hansen, and we also had a non-start for both Asbald Eston and Hal Marquez. But Thomas Lowe will come through in 14th and complete your finishing order. Goodness me, ladies and gents, what a pair of races. That was absolutely incredible. And well, I can tell you one thing, the Oulton Truckfest, we expected madness, but we did not expect the sheer scale and calibre of the racing we've had here today, as Thomas Lowe takes a very inventive way through Cascade. Well, they've all enjoyed themselves out there, I suspect. Some more than others, perhaps, as Daniel Ball decides to lay down the biggest set of rubber lines that he can, and will definitely there be in trouble with MSV afterwards, and I suspect that's going to be a big fine. The circuit owners don't take kindly, particularly to what is rubber being laid down in such a manner, but still Daniel Ball having his fun, and who could blame him for it? But as all of our truckers calm down, well, let's take a look to the scenic view, and with those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. Not there should be, to be fair. This is all about having fun, and we begin by, of course, taking a look at the results from our sprint race, that being race number 1 earlier on. And what we got to see in our first race, the 10-lap sprint, was that Alfie Bevan came through to take the victory, sneaking it out of the hands of what was both Zach Sweeney and none other than Kieran Sharp when they came together right at the end. So Bevan took the win in that one, and behind him was Andrew Pike and Byron Forrest II, and outside the top 3 it was Zach Sweeney and Kieran Sharp who completed the top 5. Jamie Nuttall was 6th ahead of Jay Walsh, with Valentine Veron in 8th, and then we did have Daniel Ball and Finney Secker completing the top 10. In 11th it was Charlie Morgan, best the rest, ahead of James Stone Bradford, with Matthias Fusken ahead of Daniel Merchant and Thomas Lowe to complete the top 15. Lenny Hansen was the last lead lap finisher in the sprint, and then it was a lap down finish to Christian Muller. It was an early retirement and a non-finish for Hal Marquez, and it was a non-start for Osbald Eston. But meanwhile, in the race you've just seen, the 16-lap feature, all the results were thus. Zach Sweeney coming all the way through the field in the end to bring home the win that was denied to him in the sprint. And he was ahead of Cracked Racing's Jamie Nuttall by the best part of 2.8 seconds. Alfie Bevan, the privateer, completed your podium in a very solid pair of drivers today. And he definitely has been the driver of the day for the event in terms of taking the best pair of results. And there's no award for it other than the fact he gets the bragging rights for that accolade. Kieran Sharp taking full place there for the Sim Racing Collective Esports ahead of Byron Forrest II. And the MRT driver doing a fantastic job in making his way on back through the field despite being involved in a couple of incidents, and adding to his podium from earlier on with a 5th place finish. Then we did see Daniel Paul in 6th place there for Nations League Racing ahead of oNiD Community Racing's Charlie Morgan, with Andrew Pike for Sim Racing Collective Esports in the end losing out in late stages, but able to hold off Finley Secker and Matthias Fusken for what was the rounding out of the top 10. Behind the German Triton length, it was best the rest of James Stone Bradford, who enjoyed plenty of battling, particularly with Jay Walsh, and then we did see Valentina Veron in 13th place ahead of Thomas Lowe. It was a lap down finish for Christian Müller. It was 4 laps down with a retirement for Daniel Merchant for Nations League Racing. And we also did see 4 laps down there to Lenny Hansen with his retirement. And we also did have non-starts for Noah Asbaldeston as it was for Hal Marquez. But what a race it was. And what a pair of races we have seen here at Oulton Park International, ladies and gentlemen. And well, that concludes all of our racing here today from the northwest of England. And we hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed covering it and putting it on here at the Sim Racing Collective in collaboration with oNiD Community Racing. It has been a blast. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know how you can get on the grid here at the Sim Racing Collective or with oNiD Community Racing, for either of us, if you want to go onto the grid with us, we do recommend checking out our official websites. Firstly, the TSRC website, which may be found at www.tsrc.club and appearing on screen. Well, the Sim Racing Collective website is an easy-to-access website with all the information you need. Right in the centre, underneath our welcome message, is our link to join our official Discord, the beating heart of the community, and you need to be part of the Discord if you want to join any of our events, whether they're one-off races, alternatively, Championship Series. So why not join today? And that way you can get to the beating heart of all the action and speak to the ad members, the staff and other drivers. On the left, you can see all of our socials, ranging from our SimGrid page through to our X, or previously known as Twitter, also our Instagram, our YouTube, our Twitch and our Discord. At the bottom, you've got our partners and affiliates, and in the top right, if you want to know more about our rules, regulations and our news, we've got links for you there. But of course, it's not just the Sim Racing Collective hosted today's event. We also did this in collaboration with oNiD Community Racing, and their website being at www.onidracing.com. And their website now appearing on screen. As you can see, a very easy to navigate website, a very professionally designed website at that. And welcome to oNiD Racing. And indeed, if you want to become part of the oNiD Racing community, do click the button on their homepage to join today. And you can get on the grid and go racing with them. And all the information you need to go racing with oNiD Community Racing at the very top there. From how you can support the community, the partners, the rulebook, you name it, it's all there. And also the instant guide and all the driver ratings. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'd also like to take a moment to say a thank you to our partners and affiliates without whom we could not do this, including Tam Livery, SimGrid, Coach Dave Academy, ABRUZZI Simulation and Motorsport. And we'd also like to give a big shout out to Motorsport UK's esports division for recognising us here at the Sim Racing Collective as what is a recommended community. We're very grateful for that recognition, and long may it continue throughout 2026 and beyond. But ladies and gentlemen, with that, well, what lies beyond this event today? Well, stay tuned for plenty more racing action at the Sim Racing Collective throughout 2026. And as we mentioned earlier on in this broadcast, later on this month, we will be unveiling the details for our upcoming summer season of racing. However, before we get to that, well, we did say we've got a couple of special events lined up, this being the first of 2. And next up, well, the good news is we can reveal our second event. And well, if you've enjoyed the truck racing today, well, we've got you covered for some even more truck racing madness. And well, I'm trying to figure a word that was a little with T there, and it's escaped my brain, ladies and gents. I do apologise for that, stumbling live on air. I'm normally good with words, but not quite. But either way, forget my words, because coming up on Monday, the 15th of June, 2026, we have got the Green Hell No Limits event. And to explain a little bit about what this event is about, if you've enjoyed the event today, well, we do make our way to the Nordschleife layout of the Nürburgring, nicknamed the Green Hell. Yes, the circuit that runs up to, over and down from the Eiffel Mountains. However, we'll be seeing anyone who makes it onto the grid and to make the way out on unrestricted Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 light trucks. Yep, the dirt racing trucks. And, well, there will be no limits with regards to instant points or indeed the limitations on the car. And there'll be no damage to the trucks either. So what it does mean is that essentially you're going out there and all you got to do is get to the finish. There are no limits as to what you can do so long as you get to that finish line and complete the racing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be on the grid for our trip to the Green Hell where there's no limits in our Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 light trucks, make sure you join the Sim Racing Collective community or oNiD Community Racing and get yourself signed up today. And that event on Monday, the 15th of June, 2026. And we will be bringing it to you live from circuit side. And I'll be back in the commentary booth to bring you all the racing action that unfolds. But with that, of course, it does mean that that is all we've got time for today. And well, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, well, huge thank you to you guys and girls for tuning in. A huge thank you to our drivers for making it what has been an absolutely fantastic event today. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, for we have been the Sim Racing Collective in collaboration with oNiD Community Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. And most importantly, until our next round of racing, I like our truckers today, as always, do remember to stay on track. Good night.